If you're thinking about moving to Charlotte, North Carolina, then you are probably interested in learning about the cost of living here. I get calls and emails every single day from people just like you looking to make their move to the Charlotte area. So, whether you're moving in a month or a year, be sure to call, text, or email. I'd love to help you start your journey to Charlotte. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the cost of living in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it's important to note that cost of living is one of those things that you need to be thinking about as a comparison. So you can use the tools that I'm going to share today from home, and you can actually compare the place you're moving from to Charlotte and see if it would be a good financial move for you. First of all, let's talk about it on a broad scale. So, Charlotte, North Carolina is actually slightly more affordable on the index of affordability across the US. What they do is they take the affordability of everywhere in the United States and they come up with an index, and that average is going to be 100. Anything above 100 is going to be more expensive than the national average, and everything lower than 100 would be less expensive than the national average. Charlotte comes in at 99.7, meaning that it is 0.3% less expensive to live in Charlotte as compared to the United States as a whole. Now, that doesn't mean much to you unless you are looking at the comparison from where you're moving from. Charlotte is about the 15th largest city in the United States. So it is a big city, and it is being compared to all cities across the US. So wherever you're moving from, you want to actually plug those in to the tools we're going to share today so that you can find out if it would be plausible to your wallet. Bestplaces.net is going to compare several different categories, but the ones that we're going to focus on today are groceries, healthcare, housing, utilities, and transportation. First off, let's talk about groceries, right? Inflation is a thing no matter where you're living. If you're going to the grocery store, you are definitely experiencing what that looks like in real time. Your grocery bill is either going to be more expensive than it was a year ago, or you're getting less food in your shopping cart. So one thing that I like to mention is we have a wide variety of grocery stores here, right? You can go to Walmart, and your Walmart here is going to carry pretty much the same thing that your Walmart anywhere else is carrying for very similar prices. We also have Aldi and Lidl, so you'll get much more bargains shopping there. You can also shop at things like Whole Foods, where you're going to spend a lot more. We have Trader Joe's, we have Harris Teeter, we have Publix, which is fantastic. Publix is going to be one of those grocery stores that you go into, and they have a little bit more expensive groceries, but you also get a much different customer service level than you would going elsewhere. So those are things to keep in mind. No matter what you're putting in your grocery cart, you're probably spending more on it now than you were a year ago. And that is just the reality that we're living in right now. But that being said, we are really close to the national average and just a little bit under. We're at 99.2, and that means we are coming in lower than the national average when it comes to groceries. Let's move on to healthcare. When it comes to healthcare, bestplaces.net ranks us at 95%, meaning that you will save about 5% based on the national average by moving to Charlotte. So those healthcare costs might be insurance, doctor visits, medicines, things like that. So if you are going to be needing those types of services, then Charlotte is a great place to be compared to the national average. Another great thing about the Charlotte area is we have hospitals everywhere. So we do have plenty of accessible options for healthcare. If you're looking for Atrium, Novant, those are the two big names in healthcare here in the Charlotte area. And you will find urgent cares in every community. You'll find specialty doctors, whatever you need. So if that is a concern for you, be sure to check the Google Maps. I have a Google map in the description below that you can check out that will show you many of the hospitals in the Charlotte area. Next up is housing. And you might not realize this, I'm a real estate agent in Charlotte, North Carolina, so this is kind of my main expertise here. Housing is one of those things that has changed greatly throughout the past few years. In Charlotte, housing before the pandemic, it was extremely affordable. People considered Charlotte a very inexpensive place to live when it came to housing, and we were much lower on this comparison prior to the pandemic. Of course, everywhere in the US experienced price increases throughout that time, and we did not get away with anything there. So it ended up being that our housing score is above the national average, 103.3. That being said, it is very close to the national average. So, depending on where you're moving from, if you're moving from places like Los Angeles, New York City, Washington, D.C., those big cities, you're going to experience a much better price on housing by moving to Charlotte. So again, this is one of those things you want to be comparing. It's important that you know what number you're moving from. So check out those median home prices. I'm going to share a tool here in a moment that is going to help you make that comparison. Let's go ahead and move over to that other tool now, and that's Redfin. Redfin has a great tool that you can compare the median sale price in different cities. So one of the main things I wanted to show you is migration. Where are people moving from to come to Charlotte? I mentioned New York City already. That's a big one. That's the number one place people are moving from to move to Charlotte. And because of housing is a huge factor in that. And cost of living is a major factor, right? Washington, D.C. is number 2. Los Angeles is number 3. Boston is number 4. Chicago is number 5. So these are big cities, right, where people are spending a lot more money, and now they're coming to Charlotte and getting a bigger bang for their buck, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look back at the trends. I want to show you how to compare. So if you are thinking about moving to Charlotte, go ahead and put Charlotte in on the graph so that you can see it. Our median sale price in January was $382,122, a 6.1% increase from last year. One thing to remember about this is that, first of all, you want to take a look at the timeline. Because it's early in March, the February numbers haven't been released yet. But here shortly in the next few days, probably, this graph will now change to February, and you'll be able to see a little bit more updated information. That being said, you can go down and compare your location. For instance, right now I'm helping someone who's moving from Seattle. So if we were to go ahead and compare Seattle, you can tell that Seattle went in the orange, Charlotte is in the black. Another family I recently helped moved from Chicago. So I'll put those in too. And you can tell Chicago actually comes in a little bit lower. So this is a great tool to kind of see, if you're selling a home in Seattle, you are selling for a median price of nearly $800,000, $762,500, and you're potentially buying a house at a median price of $382,123. So that is a huge factor. If you're moving from Chicago, your median sale price is $300,000, and now you're actually going to be spending more for your property here in Charlotte. So that's why I think this tool is very valuable. Being ranked at 103.3% doesn't mean much unless you know what to compare to. So use this site to help you. Let's go ahead and move back over to the cost of living in Charlotte. Now, before we move on from housing, I do want to mention, if you have any questions about the Charlotte real estate market, if you have questions about a particular neighborhood or suburb, I'm here for you. My number's on the screen, and I want nothing more than to help you on your journey to Charlotte. All right, so let's move on to utilities. The utilities come in at 98.3, meaning again that we are a little bit lower than the national average on utility costs. Utilities that you would find here are going to be electric, of course. In the greater Charlotte area, you're probably using Duke Energy, but then if you're in the suburbs, there are other energy companies as well. You might have gas. Not everybody has natural gas at their home. Particularly I do. We have a gas water heater, and we also have a gas fireplace. And that's all we have for gas here in my home, but it really does vary throughout the area. Some people have maybe a gas range. or a gas dryer, some people have no natural gas at all, and everything is powered by electricity. So we do really have kind of a toss up in this area. Some areas that you live in, you may have to pay for trash pickup. Many communities actually pay for that trash pickup in your taxes. So that's one thing that you may or may not have to worry about. You want to definitely make sure that you're talking to your real estate agent to get a list of utility providers in the area you're thinking about moving, so that you know those costs up front. Water and sewer. So in my neighborhood, I live in Indian Trail, which is a suburb of Charlotte. Our water bill for a family of 5 is about a little over $100 a month. And it's actually very similar to my costs in Ohio. We moved here from Ohio in 2018, and our water bill kind of didn't change very much. So that's one expense that is pretty similar. Our electricity bill went up greatly when we moved. Obviously, we have the use of a lot more air conditioning in Charlotte than we did in Ohio. So I attribute it to that. But those are the main utility costs. Then, of course, you have internet. We do have high-speed internet here. Spectrum is probably the biggest provider in the area, but you'll also see Windstream, which is what we have. And then you'll see some other, like I think maybe Verizon has some places in the area, T-Mobile, different providers throughout the Charlotte area. But the heavy hitters, the main ones, are probably Spectrum and Windstream. And then let's move on to transportation. So transportation comes in again just below the national average, 97.7%. Right now, our gas prices at the pump is a little over $3, maybe like $3.02, $3.09, somewhere in that range. You can always check out the website Gas Buddy to see what gas prices are, but it's early March right now, and I feel like that's a pretty affordable number, we'll say $3.09 a gallon ish. And then we also have tons of options for public transportations. It does not measure up to your really big cities like New York City. Our transportation does not measure up on that level, but we do have light rail, we have public busing, we have things like that. So those are things you want to consider as well. If you come to the Charlotte area, it really is car dependent. Most people who get from one place to the other do tend to rely on driving a car. If that's not something you're used to, you do want to consider the location you want to live in. If you want really to be able to get to everything without a vehicle, you might be looking more at uptown Charlotte, which is what we call our downtown. That might be the best place for you so that you don't have to have a car. Otherwise, you're going to really be dependent on having that car. Another great thing about transportation I'd like to mention here is our international airport. I heard recently, I don't know if it's accurate, I'll have to double check this, but I heard that we have like the 6th largest international airport out there. I'll have to double check that and tell you if it's true, but it is a great airport. It's huge. The Charlotte Douglas International Airport. It has connections all over the place, and lots of people are through our airports every single day. So that is it for transportation. I want to thank you for watching this video about the cost of living in Charlotte. If you have any questions, please do put them in the comments below. That's what I'm here for. I want to help you on your journey to Charlotte. So please do put your comments below. If you live in Charlotte now, put a comment and tell people why you love it here. And if you're thinking about moving to the Charlotte area in a month or a year or somewhere even further down the line, please reach out. My number's on the screen for you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.